All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the second edition of Hanging Einstein. I'm assuming the first went over pretty well based on some of the comments I received. So I'm going to plunge forward with this and we'll get to the second episode. I'm joined today by Josh Moore of 4for4.com. Josh, you want to introduce yourself?
I think you just did. I'm Josh Moore from 4for4 Football. I run things over there. And thanks for having me, Andy. I'm really excited to be here. I watched I believe it's the first show with Sigmund Bloom. Yeah. Am I just the second guest? Is that right?
You are. I have a bunch of guys lined up that agreed to do this and kind of were excited about the opportunity and what I'm trying to do with this. So I'm going with scheduling, and you were one of my immediates to be able to get on as soon as I could. So I'm glad you found the time to make for me.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's an honor to be your second guest, and I watched the interview with Bloom, and I really enjoyed that. It was fun hearing you guys talk back and forth, and it sounds like Bloom and I have some of the same travel destinations on our upcoming travel list. So,
well, and maybe you guys can cross paths outside of this country. Where are you today? I know where you live is different from where you grew up. So where are you right now?
Yeah, I live in East Lansing, Michigan at the moment, which is actually where I grew up. I was born in Lansing and lived in East Lansing for the first 8 years of my life. This is where Michigan State University is, but then I left for quite a long time, and I, quite frankly, never thought I'd be back. But I met my beautiful wife in North Carolina, and she ended up going back to Michigan State for her PhD, so here we are.
Awesome. That's where I was confusing. You did grow up there, but you left for a while. You almost found another home. And now you've returned to where you grew up, which is pretty cool. You also just mentioned your wife, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I don't think enough respect gets given to the women behind us for putting up with all the stuff that we put into it. But you, I mentioned your wife because some people who follow you might know this. You are not even the smartest man in your own house. Your wife is quickly on her way to becoming a doctor, so congratulations to her and kudos to that. How does that feel, having somebody else that important in the same household with you?
It'll feel good once she graduates and gets a high-paying job, and I can retire, stay home with the dog. But no, it's awesome. What she does is actually really crazy. She works in plant genomics, so she's analyzing sequence genomic data, which is these huge data sets, which really makes our data sets that we look at in football kind of laughable in comparison. So
okay, well, again the kind of the feeling for this interview series I'm doing is to kind of get to know more about the people that we trust for football, fantasy football knowledge and advice. You yourself have built a huge site with you and everybody else working at 4for4. You have close to 15,000 followers on Twitter along yourself, and I just wonder how many of them actually know, just details of who you are and things that you're into. I joke with you on Twitter a lot that with your travels, and you mentioned, with you and Bloom being world travelers, one of the things that came out in the comments to me privately was that people were fascinated that, wow, I didn't know other people did that kind of stuff, because me and my wife travel all over the world and we're into that. So do you want to tell some people some exotic places you've been or places that are on your wish list to try to get to in the near future?
Yeah, well, I've been a few places. My wife and I lived in New Zealand for a year, and that was really fantastic. Then we ran out of money. We moved to Australia, got jobs there. That was also awesome. Really good place to live. We lived in Melbourne, which is just a really great city.
Okay.
On the ocean, I'm a big fan of the ocean myself. It kind of puts me at ease when other things are crazy, so I really enjoyed living there right on the ocean. We were literally beachfront, so that was awesome.
Okay.
When we left there, we traveled through Asia for a while, Southeast Asia, which was really, really nice. It's really cheap there, so I don't know, you can live like a king on $50 a day or something, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
I've been all over the U.S., although there's a few states I'd like to get back to. I've never been to New Orleans, so I'd really like to go there.
Never.
I've heard that Boise, Idaho is a great kept secret of our country, so I'd like to get out there, maybe do some snowboarding out there. Then a couple years ago, my wife and I got married, and we got married in Costa Rica, and then we kind of traveled south from Costa Rica through South America some, and that was really great too. But the problem with travel that I find is that everywhere I go, I find two more places that I want to go. I want to go back there and go somewhere else.
Yeah. It's a fascinating opportunity. As you mentioned, Bloom was mentioning that we have the opportunity to go to all these different places. I'm honestly quite surprised. I'm not a huge traveler. If you look at my resume, I've been to a bunch of places. I've actually been to New Orleans twice, and me not being a huge traveler, to hear that you haven't been there once is pretty mind-blowing, especially that you were in North Carolina for a good portion of your life. So,
Yeah, well, it's not that close. I think it's still 24-hour drive from North Carolina. But yeah, I need to get down there. I think I've been to 46 states now, and that's one of the ones I haven't.
Okay, wow.
And I think this is actually from Mexico. This little espresso mug I'm drinking out of at the moment. So.
That looks like a Mexican artifact, if you will. How many times have you been to Mexico?
Just once. I went last year with my dad. So since I moved back to Michigan, the winters are brutal, and since I moved away from Michigan, I never planned to experience winter again unless I was skiing or snowboarding. Okay. So here I am. So now one of the great things about being in the fantasy football business and not doing other sports is that January, February, March, April are pretty lax. So if I want to take some time off, I can still work, but I don't necessarily have things that I got to get out every day. So I normally try and get away for a few weeks or really as long as possible in the winter. So my dad and I went down to Mexico last February for about a month and had a really good time.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned having time off in the off season. So is football your full-time gig, or is there other stuff that occupies some of your time as far as?
No, this is the main thing. For a while I was doing some other stuff to pay the bills, but now thankfully we've gotten things up big enough where I'm able to dedicate all my efforts to 4for4 and making it great, and helping hire on new talented people and helping build out things to help our subscribers.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm doing it full time, and then we do work year round, but it's just like during the football season, the idea of me traveling somewhere for a week is pretty much out of the question. Whereas in February, I can go and chill out and work part time.
Absolutely, I can completely relate.
Recharge the batteries a little bit. It's important.
You have to. Now I do want to ask you this because I personally don't know, and it could be an obvious answer, but maybe if I don't know, somebody else doesn't. What exactly does 4for4 stand for?
That's a funny question. So I actually was not the founder of 4for4. 4for4 was started by another guy in 1999 when I was still in college. Okay. And that was the name that he gave the site. And I pressed him for why is this the name of the site? And he never had a straight answer for me. So it was always, for several years, we were kind of like, should we change the name? This is, people hear it 4for4 and then they're like, they come up with 500 different ways to spell it or what it is. But every year, we can never kind of think of something better, so it just kind of stuck. And as we gain critical mass, now it's, right. It's too late, no looking back. So 4for4 we are. And one thing we do have working for us with the name, I think, is when you do see it, 4, FOR4, I think once you see it, then it does stick in your mind and it's short and memorable. So
yeah, well, no, it's become a brand. So it's, but I always kind of related it to baseball, like a batter going 4for4 on the day or something like that. So I was just wondering if there was an actual reason, but
no, I think it's just like a stat phrase. But I mean, this type of thing where if I'm watching a football game and Peyton starts off 4for4 and they say it, my ears perk up. So
there you guys, it's right. It's an instant flow.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Peyton, who's obviously in Denver. You are in East Lansing. Snowboarding. All these things are kind of gearing me towards the beard. Now I have quite a lot of people that make fun of me for having this pencil stash or whatever. This is pretty much all I can do. So you are well beyond me in terms of your facial hair growth potential. So how long has this been going for you?
Well, it's kind of a funny question people ask. I can't really remember when I didn't have a beard. I mean, but it's not like I've just been growing it straight. It kind of, I'll grow it and then I'll trim it some. But I don't know. This is maybe about 6 months of growth right here.
That's all? 6 months?
Maybe a little. But I started with a decent. I don't know. I've had a beard for a long time. So, right. But yeah. No, I don't know. Shaving just seems like a real pain, and like also, I guess around the time when I started growing a beard, so I used to be like real skinny in college, real skinny. I started to chunk out a bit because I was drinking a lot of beer and eating a lot of chicken wings, and my face really kind of blew up. So then I'm like, oh well, if I grow a beard, you can't see how fat my face is. So that's kind of how it started, and now I don't really know what my face would look like if I shaved the beard off. So, but it's also good for Michigan winter, so I'm not going to shave it now.
Right. Now's the bad time. But is there any? Has there been any demands made from the future doctor as far as like at my commencement ceremony when I get my full doctor certification that is she a fan of it or?
Well, it's funny. So I had like just the beard, but I'd always kept the mustache pretty trimmed. Now the mustache itself is pretty long. And her request was actually that if I'm going to grow the beard out, that I grow the mustache as well. So now I've got the mustache, and I can pretty much make my mouth disappear. So
okay. Well,
But I've got a bet with her, or not really a bet, but an agreement with her brother has a similar sized beard,
right.
and he lives in Philadelphia. And last time we were together, we made an agreement that neither of us would shave until we were both together, and we both agreed that it was time to shave. So it could be a while.
Okay. Now, all right. So I'm gonna gear this now a little bit towards lifestyles, and I told you I had a little treat for you, a little surprise for you today. It's really not something you can cash in on or actually touch at this particular time, but you can in the future if we ever meet up in real life and not virtually. You of course give me a lot of ball breaking about the whole fire thing, which leads me to think that at some point you have thought about maybe wanting to be a firefighter yourself. So I am going to wear this for the remainder of this interview, and just to kind of tease you a little, just to kind of get back at the, because again, I don't have the body. That's why I shoot raised up. But,
nice, man. I like it. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
All right. If you're gonna wear that, I'll just hold my.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What trophy is that?
This was the 2010 Fantasy Pros Top 5 Accuracy Trophy, so I got this in Vegas.
Wow. There you go.
I like to just hold that there.
Now, that is a huge credit to your name, and actually a huge part of what has driven the success at 4 for 4 with both you and John, just having such credibility. So you've been in this for a while now. What are some of the trends you've seen? Now, I know that I don't want to talk necessarily like football, but it is kind of who you are and what you've become. So what are some of the things you've noticed over the last, several years that you've been involved, like big changes? Obviously, DFS is probably the biggest one right now, but as far as the technology, I'm sure you've seen that advance and things like that. Do you see this thing like continuing to go? And when I say this thing, I don't just mean football. I mean just kind of the way life is going, like just so vast. And I mean, what are your predictions towards the future?
My predictions towards the future.
Yeah.
The Lions are not going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay. I think that's an obvious one.
I mean, as far as the fantasy football industry, I think obviously DFS is a big change. They're bringing a lot of money into the industry. So, when we go to the Fantasy Sports Trade Association shows in the winter and the summertime, there's a lot more buzz. There's a lot more kind of new sharks coming in and feeding and trying to get up some of that money. There's a lot of new people, a lot of new energy, so that's definitely a big difference. I think just the fact over, say, the last 5 or 10 years, it's gotten so easy. The internet's gotten so accessible for people to build their own blogs, with the click of a button, and to really get their voice out there that it's just really easy for someone if they want to get into fantasy football and they want to, if they want to put in the work and do a good job, and keep up with it. There's an audience out there waiting for them with Twitter and with, YouTube video and everything.
Well, I guess maybe I should say, at what point, what was your reasoning for going full steam into this, full-time job? This is what's what was the turning point for you? And what were you doing before? What were you doing like you said to pay the bills before this?
Yeah, so I have a degree in computer science, and I've always been a computer programmer, and or web developer. That's what I brought to the table, really, at 4 for 4. And so we were living in Melbourne, Australia at the time, and I was on a work visa that said I had to work for the company that I was working for, or else I had to leave. And the company that I was working for, they were a lot of fun to work for, and I learned a lot of really great stuff, and we had some really, really good times, but money was starting to get tight, and it was obvious to me that things were going to start going south. Right. So I started looking around at my other plans. I'm like, okay, if they lay me off, I'm going to have to leave within a week, Right. So I decided to leave on my terms instead of their terms, and I had been working for 4 for 4 as a developer for a couple years, so I was a contract developer. I do, a few hours here, a week or two there. Okay. And the guy who was running it, he'd been running it for about 10 years. And I think that was just kind of enough. It's a grind. There's no doubt the football season itself is a grind when you're, immersed in it 24/7. And he was ready to get out, and I had been working for him, and we just kind of arranged for me to take over. So I was really just looking for the next step, and that seemed like a logical thing. So we moved back to the U.S., and I started down that path, and I I didn't fully understand what I was getting myself into, and it was really, really crazy for a couple of years. But now that I'm through those first few years, I'm really glad that I am where I am.
Right. Awesome. I'm just listening. Takes me back a little because I just think that, I can relate to a lot of stuff. Just not knowing where you are and just not knowing what you're getting yourself into, but happy that you pursued it and pushed on.
Yeah, I mean those first few years, man. Especially the first year, we were flat broke. My wife was supporting me for sure. I was working some side work, which was like, I was working a lot of hours, 4 too many,
Right.
and doing side work and stuff. So it was rough, but kind of like slowly over time, we built the snowball, gotten it bigger and bigger, and I was able to hire on John Paulson, and he took a lot off my plate. He's doing a really, really, really good job now, and we've just been able to add to the team, and yeah, I'm really, really proud of what we put together.
Yeah, it's a lot to be proud of. Now, you were a computer guy and a numbers guy and all that kind of stuff. I know you were a sports fan, but were you into the fantasy game before you started working for 4 for 4? Or
yeah, I was not as into it as I am now, obviously, but I was definitely a big fantasy player. I remember I started playing fantasy sports probably in 98 or 99 on this platform called Small World, it's kind of funny. It was a season-long salary cap format, and it was kind of like the best of season-long in DFS.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that product's no longer around, but that's what got me hooked on playing. I was playing baseball and basketball baseball and football mostly, and then moved on to season-long leagues, and here we are.
Okay. Now, you mentioned outdoor sports and travel and stuff. Are there any other sports you're into besides football? Or I hear the dog. Yep.
Yeah, my dog's barking. That probably means the mailman's here.
Okay.
Sorry, buddy.
Are there any other sports you're big into?
I used to be big into hockey, although I don't really follow it so much anymore. I don't know, maybe because my teams aren't that good. But yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, really. Baseball is like kind of I enjoy it as a pastime. I enjoy the fact that there's 162 games. I know that some people think that's a snooze fest, but I like the fact that pretty much any day of the week I can turn on a game. So yeah, I'm a big baseball fan.
How does it make you feel now seeing Yoenis Cespedes and David Price basically assured of sniffing the World Series this year, where your team bailed out on them?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we got something in return, I guess, and I'm glad for those guys that they're on, contributing to a winning team, because I don't really know what's happened to the Tigers, but man, they've gone south. And at the beginning of the season this year, I thought there were a lot of possible range of outcomes for the season, but I didn't think finishing last place in the Central was one of them. So hopefully we can add to our pitching staff and turn things around next year. But I kind of feel like the window's closing.
I just got to take my little jabs where I can at you, because usually...
You a Yankees fan?
I am a Yankees fan.
Yeah, so you remember there's a series, I think it was ALCS, in a 5-game series in New York a few years ago?
We've talked about this in the past. I was at that game.
You were at that game. I was at the game too.
Yeah. We mentioned this. We
did we on the other pod we talked?
Yeah, I think it was Jorge Posada striking out to end the game or something like that, and basically the season.
Man. Yeah, it was like a 1-run game the whole game, and it was the most stressed out I've ever been in my life at a sporting event.
Yeah, I was in the Mohegan Sun Sports Bar in center field when that game ended, and it was. Yeah, all right, see, this is why I take my shots at you when I can get them, because I know you give them back to me. So,
yeah, I remember riding the train back that night, and I had like my jacket on over my jersey and my hat, like inside my jacket, trying not to get beat up.
You know what? Everybody thinks like New York is like this bad place, like so violent, or you can't wear your jersey and this, that, and third, and then when people actually come here, they say New Yorkers are so nice and so welcoming. So I think we had a bad rap. I know that's changed in the last probably decade or so, but
there were a couple fights at that game. I remember.
Well, there's fights everywhere. I've been to Fenway, I've been to Foxborough, I've been to Baltimore, and wearing my Yankee hats and jerseys, and I feel like it's wherever you go, sports is kind of the unifier, which is kind of what's really cool. And I think why I'm so into fantasy sports is because it's a way for you to actually feel like you're playing. Other than just watching the games, you can actually feel like you're participating in it. I'm a former athlete. I played college basketball, but after that, I wasn't going to the pros or anything. So the way we're talking right now, you're in Detroit, I'm in New York. You're a big sports guy, I'm a big sports guy, and we have a bond because of that, and we've become friends because of it. Where I otherwise might not have ever gotten to know you or anything of that nature. So to me, sports is really like the great divider for especially men. you know.
Yeah, I think Twitter too, especially for me, Twitter has been really awesome. Just I don't know when I've been on Twitter, maybe 4 or 5 years now, but
Right.
establish all these relationships with other people that are interested in the same things you are, or even other people who are working in fantasy football. Where here in Lansing is probably impossible for me to find someone else that I can relate to on that level. But on Twitter, there's thousands of people that are all interested in the same thing, and other people like Sigmund Bloom and like yourself that I can talk to, and I feel like I've established so many close personal relationships with people that I've never even met in real life. And the video conferencing like this is awesome too. We do at 4for4. Our team is all spread out over the U.S. and actually in Mexico as well.
Right.
But we have Skype calls just like this multiple times a week, and it feels like we're in the same room. And I think even being decentralized allows us to be more efficient in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned Twitter. I don't want to take all day and draw this out, but I'm glad you mentioned Twitter because that's kind of like that's basically the majority, I would say, of our followers and people that are looking for us for advice. We're all on Twitter. It seems like that Twitter and fantasy football go hand in hand for probably 90% of the majority. I could be mistaken with that, but it goes to what you said. We are a community. You might one guy might have 2 followers, you might have 20,000. It doesn't but we're all men at the end of the day, and you put a little more time into this, so you're a very approachable guy, and like I said, I'm just happy I get an opportunity to talk to you, and hopefully this opened you up to some people that do follow you to know you a little better and have a better appreciation for you. Is there anything you would like to tell some of your followers, some of our joint followers, anybody that might be a new follower?
Well, I'm glad you guys made it all this way through the video. Hi, Mom, you're probably watching.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with the Einstein? Give me the backstory there.
The backstory with the Einstein is there's this artist in Venice Beach, Jason. I want to say Robbins. He signed it, but it's it's an artistic signature. So I can find it for you. I'll text you when I get it.
Is it multidimensional? It looks like Picasso or something there.
It is. It's actually it's 3D. You can see at the top. Wow. It's made out
cool.
It's made out of a bunch of wooden pallets, kind of all formed together. And we went to Venice Beach a couple years ago. And I saw this artist. He had this piece of driftwood, like 2x4 of Dirty Harry, and it wasn't Dirty Harry. It was just the art and what it was on that I just kind of like. I was like, oh, that's awesome, and it was like cheap. It was like $75, and we didn't think we'd be able to get it in the airplane, so we passed on it, and then we regretted it 2 years. We went back to Cali this past April, and I said, I got to find this guy, and he was working on this. This was actually 3 stages after where I saw it. It was initially just white with the black outlines. I knew it was Einstein. Not everybody could tell that at the time. And I said, I'll take it. But he said, you're on your own to get it back. And it was a whole big process because this is 54 by 50. It weighs 75 pounds. Somehow managed to get it on the airplane. So shout out to JetBlue. Thank you again.
Nice. And then that's awesome, man. I love buying art from local people when I'm traveling. I think that's a really good way to remember where you are. And just like you said, I think sometimes I don't like to go out looking for something, but if I'm out and I see something, I'm like, I need that. You know what I mean? If I don't buy it, I'm gonna regret it.
Right. Absolutely.
And then it nags at you. You're like, man, for 2 years, you're thinking like, man, I should have got that.
Exactly. That's what happened. So, so then it became a whole thing. How are we going to hang this? Because this thing is huge. And it took several months, and we finally got it up. So you could interpret hanging Einstein however you want. I'm getting some fantasy football geniuses on this show. So it could be I'm putting the screws to you guys, and you're the Einstein. It could be we're just hanging out with Einstein. However you want to interpret it. But that's all it was. You have any particular art you're into?
I got a bunch of stuff around the room. I like to take photos.
Okay. Is there anywhere?
Let me see if I can. I could probably shoot some. Let's see.
Is there anywhere that people can see your photography?
No, not really. It's just that's Thailand right there.
Okay.
We rented that house there for $5 a night.
Wow. Oh, that's a real photo. That's not a painting.
No, it's like a print on canvas.
Okay.
So I got a bunch of other ones over. This is my office, by the way. So I got a bunch of other ocean pictures, basically.
Nice. Now these are all pictures, though. Even if they're on canvas, they're not These aren't like paintings.
Nah, they're pictures on
Let's
canvas,
see that. Yeah, those are,
and then in a frame. And then I got an artist friend in Australia that does this kind of like anti-establishment kind of stuff.
oh, that's
So
nice.
we got some big prints of his
I
there,
like that.
like barcodes with ants destroying it.
What's his name? If anybody watching is interested in that, how could they find him? Or maybe
His name is Mark De Jong,
we'll,
and unfortunately, his paintings are probably like too expensive for anyone to buy. I know they're too expensive for me, but he does these really awesome paintings where my favorites, anyways. They're really big. They're like maybe the size of your Einstein.
Okay.
And he lays down a base coat of industrial glow in the dark paint first.
Okay.
And then he stencils over the top of it. So he's got like my favorite one is this giant sun, but the base level is glow in the dark. So at nighttime, it's like this glowing sun, and it's really awesome.
That sounds pretty awesome. That sounds pretty amazing. Maybe we can give a Josh Moore referral code if there are any deep pocket watchers.
Always be selling, man. Always be selling.
Well, I don't know where else you can get a tour of Josh Moore's home other than on Hanging Einstein right here on the Nickel Press channel. But Josh, I do want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with me for a little bit today. Like I said, anything you would impart, any wisdom or knowledge you would impart for life, not fantasy football, but for life. With
life wisdom, man, yeah. That's a tough one. I think figure out what you want to do. How I like to think about life is figure out where I want to be, and then think backwards from there and think about what steps do I need to take to get there. And I think if you do that, you can accomplish pretty much. I mean, set reasonable goals and reasonable expectations. I don't think I can become the president of the United States, but as far as lifestyle and things like that, think about how you want to live your life. Think about the things that are important to you, and then build a life that fits that. And I think if you think about it that way, and if you work hard every day, I think that's another thing. Like be consistent, have kind of a plan in place. And I think you can get there. That's what I'm trying to do. And really, I don't know. Life is really precious and really valuable, and it's pretty much the only non-renewable resource that we have. There's no way to get more life. So I think just enjoy every day and love people around you. I think that's really important.
It's amazing to hear you say that, because I think that's another thing that a lot of us share. Like, we find each other because we all have some of these common beliefs. And, you're obviously successful, and people that might just find you for the first time look and go, how did this guy get to where he is? But it's really the attitude of, working well with others, being humble, but being hardworking at the same time, and having faith and belief in yourself. So,
yeah, surround yourself with other smart people that are smarter than you, preferably, or smart in areas where you're not smart.
Right. Well, that's why I'm trying to surround myself with you. So, and others.
And Einstein back there.
And Einstein, exactly. Well, this is Josh Moore. You can find him on Twitter at 4for4 _ Josh. His information is right there on the overlay. Josh, you can't see that now, but you'll see it.
Oh, we've got an overlay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to be all fancy schmancy with this show, but yeah, 4for4.com is the site, and follow him on Twitter, and definitely, be a fan of Josh's. I am, and I don't think you'd be sorry if you're not already. I'm sure most of the people watching are going to be from your end. So again, hi, Miss Moore. You did a wonderful job with Josh, and Miss Moore. The other Miss Moore, your wife. Congratulations to you as well, and Josh, thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Andy. Oh, there's a bomber flying overhead, so we're ending just in time. So thanks for having me, man. It's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of your shows. But who you got on next?
I got Scott Fish coming up. I got a few others. I'm not gonna plug too many yet, because I want to kind of build some suspense. And I'm still trying to figure out. I was gonna see if I could put the screws to you, and say, when we used to watch like late night TV, they would say guests of the Johnny Carson show, receive this or whatever. Well, I don't have anything to give, so I was gonna see if my guests wanted to give something to my viewers. But I'll let you off the hook today. So I'm still developing this as we go. Maybe I'll start doing that. If you come on the show, you have to give a gift to the viewers, and something of that nature. I've had some Ray Firestone thoughts where, like Cuba Gooding Jr., Rod Tidwell, and Jerry Maguire. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Maybe I'll try to get you guys to cry. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I'm pretty emotional, so it won't take much.
I don't know. This is just evolving and emerging, but I'm just happy with the response it's gotten. A lot of people seem to really genuinely care about who we are. So, and I do as well. So I felt if I did, others must as well. So, like I said, I hope you've endeared yourself to a lot of people that know of your existence, and just find a deeper reason to connect with you now. So
thanks, man. It's fun to not. I mean, I love talking fantasy football, but sometimes people, especially on Twitter, you post something about your life, and people are like, "Should I start Mark Ingram or Jonathan Stewart this week?"
Right.
So it's nice to talk to somebody about something else for a change.
Well, hopefully that's what people are getting out of this. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted on the views and the comments of this.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, Josh. Appreciate it.